What if there was a place where the Earth itself is still growing? Rising higher every single year. Reaching toward the heavens like a prayer that never ends. A place where monks live on cliffs. Where tigers once flew. And where the gods themselves are said to live. This place is real, and it's not finished yet. The Himalayas are still pushing upward, growing nearly 1 centimeter every year. Millions of years ago, 2 giant plates crashed into each other. And the ancient ocean floor rose into the sky. That ocean floor is now the highest place on Earth. But this is not just a mountain range. This is a kingdom above the clouds. Five nations guard secrets carved into rock and ice. Prayer flags dance in the wind, carrying wishes to the universe. Rivers are worshipped as gods. And some peaks are too sacred to ever climb. But this frozen world is changing. Glaciers are melting. Water sources for billions are at risk, and ancient traditions that survived for thousands of years are fighting to hold on. In this journey, we will cross all 5 Himalayan nations: Bhutan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Tibet. We will stand at the foot of Everest, walk through valleys frozen for half the year, and discover monasteries clinging to impossible cliffs, from the world's most dangerous mountain to lakes that change color like magic. This is the Himalayas. A world where survival, spirituality, and wonder exist in every breath. Let the journey begin. The birth of a giant. Millions of years ago, there was no mountain here, only a vast, ancient ocean called the Tethys Sea. Then 2 massive pieces of Earth began moving toward each other. The Indian Plate and the Eurasian Plate, slowly, unstoppably, over millions of years. And then they collided. The ocean floor didn't sink. It crumpled, it rose, higher and higher, until it touched the sky. Imagine an ocean floor becoming the roof of the world. Scientists have found fossils of sea creatures at 8,000 meters. Proof that what is now frozen rock was once deep underwater. The Himalayas are not just mountains. They are a story of transformation, written in stone and ice over millions of years. And that story is still being written. The Himalayas stretch for 2,500 kilometers, slicing Asia in two like a giant wall of snow and rock. They are still growing, rising nearly 1 centimeter every year. This is the youngest and tallest mountain range on Earth, and it is not finished yet. Think of two cars crashing in slow motion, but instead of metal, it is entire continents. The wreckage didn't flatten. It rose upward, creating the tallest peaks humans have ever seen. Here, the mountains themselves are alive, still growing, still reaching, still becoming. Like a prayer that never ends, the Himalayas keep rising toward the heavens. But these mountains are not empty. 5 nations guard this frozen kingdom, each with its own culture, its own secrets, its own sacred places. And our journey begins in the most hidden kingdom of all, where a tiger once flew through the sky. The kingdom of the Thunder Dragon. Bhutan calls itself the land of the Thunder Dragon, and it has protected its secrets for centuries. This tiny Himalayan kingdom has no traffic lights. It measures success by happiness instead of money, and it limits how many visitors can enter each year. Here, the mountains don't just hold snow. They hold ancient wisdom, guarded by monks and fortresses called dzongs. High above the Paro Valley, clinging to a sheer cliff at 3,000 meters, sits the Tiger's Nest Monastery. Legend says that in the 8th century, a great teacher named Guru Rinpoche flew here on the back of a flying tigress and meditated in a cave for 3 years. Today, pilgrims climb for hours through pine forests and prayer flags, just to stand where a tiger once landed. The final path crosses a suspension bridge over a 900-meter drop, so high that clouds float below your feet. Inside, monks still perform rituals passed down for over 1,000 years. Incense fills the cold mountain air. It is one of the most sacred places in all of Buddhism. In the capital Thimphu, the Tashi Chodzong serves 2 purposes. During the day, it is the seat of government. At night, it becomes a monastery for 350 monks. The fortress has white walls that glow in the sunset, and during festivals, monks perform ancient charm dances, wearing colourful masks of demons and gods. Bhutan does not separate the sacred from the everyday. They are woven together like threads in a prayer flag, and those prayer flags are everywhere. Blue for space, white for air, red for fire, green for water, yellow for earth. With every gust of wind, the flags release prayers into the universe, blessings for all living beings. But Bhutan is only the beginning. To the west, the Himalayas stretch into India, where ancient Buddhist kingdoms still survive in valleys most of the world has never seen. And in one frozen desert, there is a place they call Little Tibet. The roof of India. In the far north of India, beyond the green plains and crowded cities, the land rises into a cold, barren desert. This is Ladakh, a region so isolated and so high that it feels like another planet. They call it Little Tibet. Because here, Tibetan Buddhist culture has survived for centuries, protected by the mountains themselves. In the town of Leh, the 17th century Leh Palace rises 9 stories high, built in the same style as the Dalai Lama's palace in Tibet. Nearby, Thixi Monastery sits on a hilltop like a fortress of faith, a 12-story complex where monks wake before dawn to chant prayers. As the sun rises over the Himalayas, the sound of their voices echoes across the valley, ancient words carried by the cold, thin air. Ladakh sits at an average altitude of 3,500 meters, so high that trees barely grow. The air holds only 40% of the oxygen found at sea level. Temperatures can drop to -30 degrees Celsius in winter. yet people have lived here for over 1,000 years. The Zanskar Valley, even more remote, becomes completely cut off for 8 months. Its only winter road is the frozen river itself. In Nubra Valley, beyond one of the highest motorable passes on Earth, something impossible appears. 2 humped camels walking across sand dunes at 3,000 meters above sea level. A desert in the sky with snow-capped peaks as the backdrop. These camels once carried silk and spices along the ancient trade routes to China. In the Spiti Valley, the 1,000-year-old Key monastery clings to a rocky cliff, its whitewashed walls glowing against the brown mountains. Inside, monks study ancient texts by the light of butter lamps, the same way their ancestors did centuries ago. Marine fossils found in these mountains are 100 million years old, proof that this frozen desert was once an ocean floor. Here, the prayer wheel spins endlessly, turned by hand, by water, by wind, sending blessings into the universe with every rotation. Faith is not just believed here, it is practiced with every breath. But the Himalayas are not only about stillness and prayer. In some places, the mountains are alive with danger, rivers that carry the souls of the dead, and peaks that have claimed more lives than any others on Earth. Our next stop is a land where even the water is sacred, and the journey to heaven begins at the source of a holy river, where rivers are gods. For over 1 billion Hindus, the Ganges River is not just water, it is a goddess. They call her Ganga Ma, Mother Ganga. Her waters are believed to wash away sins and free souls from the cycle of rebirth. The river begins high in the Himalayas, at a glacier called Gangotri, where ice melts into the stream that will flow over 2,000 kilometers to the sea. Every year, thousands of pilgrims make the difficult journey to Gangotri Temple. At nearly 4,000 meters altitude, they come to touch the sacred water at its purest source, where it first emerges from the ice, cold and crystal clear. For many, this is a once-in-a-lifetime journey, a chance to stand where heaven meets earth. Further downstream, the twin cities of Rishikesh and Haridwar mark where the Ganges leaves the mountains. Rishikesh is known as the yoga capital of the world, the place where the Beatles came to study meditation in the 1960s. Every evening, the Ganga Aarti ceremony fills the riverbanks with fire, chanting, and the glow of 1,000 floating lamps. At Haridwar, whose name means gateway to God, the stone steps are crowded with pilgrims every single day. Families bring the ashes of their loved ones to scatter in the river, believing this will free their souls and end their cycle of reincarnation. Every 12 years, the Kumbh Mela draws over 100 million people to these waters, the largest religious gathering on Earth. At sunset, the river glows orange and gold, reflecting the fire of the ceremony and the devotion of the faithful. Bells ring, priests chant, flowers float downstream, carrying prayers toward the sea. It is a moment that feels outside of time, as if the ancient and the eternal have become one. The river flows endlessly, from ice to ocean, from birth to death, from sin to salvation. In the Himalayas, water is not just life, it is liberation. But not all of India's Himalayan places are about peace and prayer. Some are about survival, where the roads are so dangerous and the cold so brutal that only the strongest can pass. And beyond the highest pass in the world lies a lake that changes color like magic. Lakes of mystery and light, hidden among the highest mountains on Earth, are lakes that seem impossible. Bodies of water so remote, so pure, and so strange that they feel like portals to another world. Some are sacred, visited by pilgrims for centuries. Some are scientific mysteries, with waters that shift color throughout the day. And some are so isolated that they freeze solid for half the year, becoming highways of ice across a silent world. Pangong Lake stretches for 134 kilometers across the border of India and Tibet. A ribbon of blue cutting through brown desert mountains. Its waters change color constantly, from turquoise to deep blue to emerald green, depending on the sunlight and the time of day. In winter, the entire lake freezes into a sheet of ice, and salt crystals sparkle like diamonds under the cold Himalayan sun. Yamdruk Lake in Tibet is shaped like a coiling dragon, according to local legends. It is one of the 3 holiest lakes in Tibetan Buddhism. Nomadic herders called the Changpa bring their yaks to graze on its shores, living the same way their ancestors did 1,000 years ago. When the lake freezes in winter, it becomes the only road to reach isolated villages. A highway of ice at over 4,400 meters altitude. Namtso Lake sits at 4,718 meters, the highest saltwater lake in the world. Tibetan pilgrims walk around the lake for days, a sacred ritual called Kora, stopping to pray at the 5 holy islands that rise from its waters. Salt crystallizes along the shoreline, forming strange, shimmering patterns that glow in the sunlight, like frozen fire. Imagine standing on the shore where the water is so blue it hurts your eyes, surrounded by snow-capped peaks that reflect perfectly on the still surface. No sound but the wind, no movement but the prayer flags fluttering overhead. This is what peace looks like, at the top of the world. In the Himalayas, water is sacred. Whether it flows as rivers, falls as snow, or rests in these ancient lakes. Every lake holds a spirit. Every lake holds a story. But the Himalayas are not only about still waters and silent beauty. In Nepal, the mountains rise even higher, and at their center stands the tallest peak on Earth. A mountain that has become the ultimate symbol of human ambition and human fragility. The roof of the world. At 8,848 meters, Mount Everest is the highest point on Earth, the place where the planet touches the sky. The Nepalis call it Sagarmatha, goddess of the sky. The Tibetans call it Chomolungma, mother goddess of the world. For centuries, no one believed humans could survive at its summit, where the air holds only 1/3 of the oxygen found at sea level. In 1953, 2 climbers, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, became the first humans to stand on top of the world. Since then, thousands have followed, but the mountain has not become tame. Over 300 people have died trying to reach the summit, their bodies sometimes frozen in place, becoming landmarks on the trail for those who come after. Every climber must pass through the Khumbu Icefall, a constantly shifting river of ice filled with deep crevasses that open without warning. The death zone, above 8,000 meters, is so dangerous that rescue is nearly impossible. Climbers who collapse there are often left behind, and yet every spring, base camp fills with colorful tents, hundreds of adventurers waiting for their chance to touch the sky. The Sherpa people are the heart of every Everest expedition. They carry supplies, fix ropes, and guide climbers through the most dangerous sections. For the Sherpas, the mountain is sacred. They perform puja ceremonies before every climb, asking the goddess for safe passage. From the village of Namche Bazaar, the Everest Massif rises in the distance, a wall of rock and ice that dominates the sky. Prayer flags flutter in the thin air, and the sound of monastery bells echoes through the valley. This is the Khumbu Valley, the gateway to the world's highest mountain, and home to a people who have lived in its shadow for generations. The summit is always visible, distant, cold, untouchable, a reminder that some places were not made for humans. But we reach for them anyway. But Everest is not the only wonder in Nepal. Beyond the peaks, there are hidden valleys, sacred temples, and jungles where tigers still roam. And in one ancient city, the gods themselves walk among the people. Cities of gods and kings, nestled at 1,400 meters, surrounded by peaks that touch 8,000 meters, the Kathmandu Valley is the beating heart of Nepal. For over 1,000 years, this valley has been a crossroads of religion, art, and power, where Hindu temples stand beside Buddhist stupas, and ancient kings built palaces that still stand today. The air here smells of incense and dust. The streets hum with the sound of motorbikes, temple bells, and chanting monks. At Durbar Square, 17th century statues of gods and kings gaze down from their pedestals, watching as pigeons flutter and pilgrims pray. The 2015 earthquake destroyed many of these ancient pagodas, but the rebuilding continues, stone by stone. The city refuses to let its history disappear. Every morning, the faithful light butter lamps before the deities, small flames of hope in a city that has survived for centuries. The Swayambhunath Stupa, known as the Monkey Temple, is over 2,500 years old, one of the oldest Buddhist sites in the world. The eyes painted on its golden spire gaze out in all four directions, watching over the valley, seeing all. A few hours west of Kathmandu, the city of Pokhara offers a different kind of beauty. Fiwa Lake reflects the snow-capped Annapurna range like a mirror. Paragliders drift overhead, riding the warm currents that rise from the valley. On a small island in the lake, the Barahi temple can only be reached by boat, a peaceful sanctuary in the middle of the water. Nepal is one of the few places where Hinduism and Buddhism exist side by side, sometimes even in the same temple. The Pashupatinath temple is the holiest Hindu site in Nepal, where cremation fires burn day and night along the banks of the Bagmati River. Just across the city, the Buddhanath Stupa draws Buddhist pilgrims, walking in circles around its massive white dome, spinning prayer wheels and chanting mantras. The temple bells ring constantly, a sound that blends with car horns, chanting, and the rhythm of daily life. In Kathmandu, the sacred is not separate from the ordinary. It is woven into every moment. But Nepal's wonders are not only in its cities. Deep in the southern jungles, where the Himalayas meet the plains, there is a place where rhinos, tigers, and elephants still roam wild. And the people who protect them have become guardians of one of Asia's last great wildernesses. Where the Himalayan foothills meet the plains of southern Nepal, the land transforms. A dense, humid jungle called Chitwan. This is not the frozen world of high mountains. This is where Asia's most endangered animals still survive. In the early morning mist, a one-horned rhinoceros emerges from the tall grass. Once, fewer than 100 survived. Today, over 700 rhinos roam Chitwan, a symbol of hope. Bengal tigers prowl these forests, over 100 hunting under cover of darkness. Park rangers patrol on elephant back, guardians of a fragile world. At sunset, the Rapti River glows orange. Rhinos move along the shore. A tiger waits for night to fall. This is Chitwan, where the wild still lives. But our journey continues west, to mountains higher and more dangerous than ever, where a peak called the Killer Mountain awaits. In northern Pakistan, the Himalayas merge with another great range, the Karakoram, forming some of the most extreme landscapes on Earth. Here, glaciers stretch for 60 kilometers. Vertical walls rise 4,000 meters straight up, and peaks so dangerous have claimed more lives than any others. Nanga Parbat, the 9th highest mountain, is called the Killer Mountain. Its south face is the tallest rock wall on the planet, a sheer drop of over 4,000 meters that has defeated climber after climber. K2, the 2nd highest mountain on Earth, is even more deadly, only about 300 climbers have ever reached its summit, and 87 have died trying. Climbers call it the Savage Mountain. Those who attempt it know they may not come back. But not everything here is deadly. The Hunza Valley is a green ribbon of apricot orchards and terraced fields, surrounded by snow-capped giants. At Fairy Meadows, shepherds bring their flocks in summer. The only sounds are rushing glacier water and distant avalanches. Impossible beauty, in the shadow of mountains that have taken so many lives. In the Karakoram, the mountains remind us that nature is not ours to conquer, only to witness with humility and awe. But the highest peaks are not the only wonders. In Tibet, there is a mountain so sacred that no one has ever climbed it, not out of failure, but out of reverence. At 6,638 meters, Mount Kailash is not the tallest peak in the Himalayas, but it may be the most sacred. For Hindus, it is the home of Lord Shiva, the god of destruction and transformation. For Buddhists, it is the center of the universe. For Jains and followers of Bon, it is a place of ultimate spiritual power. And for all of them, one rule is absolute. No one climbs Kailash. Every year, thousands of pilgrims make the journey, not to conquer it, but to walk around it. The Kora, a 52-kilometer circuit, takes 3 days at extreme altitude. Some pilgrims prostrate themselves for the entire journey, lying flat, rising and repeating, inch by inch, for weeks. No human has ever stood on the summit of Mount Kailash, and likely no one ever will. Some peaks are not meant to be climbed. In Lhasa, the Potala Palace rises like a man-made mountain. 13 stories of red and white walls, over 1,000 rooms and 200,000 sacred statues. This was the home of the Dalai Lamas for centuries. A palace, a fortress, and a temple all in one. Nearby, the Yokang Temple holds a 7th century statue of the Buddha. Pilgrims travel for months to reach it, crawling the final meters on their knees. Juniper incense fills the air. Chanting echoes through the ancient halls. The prayer flags flutter everywhere. On rooftops, mountain passes, bridges, and temples. Every gust of wind carries a blessing into the sky. In Tibet, the sacred is always present. We have traveled across 5 nations. From Bhutan's hidden monasteries to Pakistan's killer peaks. From Nepal's sacred rivers to Tibet's forbidden mountains. But our journey is not complete until we understand what these mountains truly mean. Because the Himalayas are more than a place. They are a message. The Himalayas are the youngest mountains on Earth. Yet they hold the oldest wisdom. Still growing, still rising, still reaching for the sky. This is where faith clings to cliffs, where rivers carry prayers to the sea, where the highest peaks remain untouched, out of respect. The true wonder is not the mountains, it is the people who live among them. The glaciers are melting, the old ways are fading, but for now, the mountains still stand, and they will keep calling to those who seek something higher, from Bhutan's hidden monasteries to Tibet's sacred peaks, from India's holy rivers to Pakistan's savage mountains, from Everest to jungles where tigers still roam. We have traveled across 5 nations, through ice and prayer, danger and wonder. These mountains teach us that some places are too sacred to conquer. Subscribe for more incredible journeys. Like this video to share the Himalayas with others. Which place amazed you most? Tell us in the comments. The Himalayas are waiting. Will you answer the call?